Well, hello, everybody. We are here for the Radiant Roots Optimal Health Bundle kickoff for our sale of this extraordinary set of information specifically created for people of color in particular. Now, that being said, anybody can utilize the information. You know, people are people, and the color of your skin honestly doesn't matter. But this bundle is unique in that it does have a perspective specifically for people of color. I am here today with my dear friends V-Lynn Hawkins and Kathleen Gage. They are co-CEOs of Vegan Visibility Productions. And so let's get cracking. Let's talk about what's in this bundle and why it's so valuable. V-Lynn, what you got?
Well, what we've got here is an amazing bundle. And if I may share my screen here, you can see these are items that will really allow people to transform their health. And, in today's environment, what many people don't realize is that what we eat is the foundation of who we are, how we move in the world, and we want to be our best. But how we do that is a different story because we have been indoctrinated into thinking that KFC and all of these other brands of meals that get provided are healthy when they actually are the source of a lot of suffering that people go through, especially people of color. And I'll put this out there about the fact that we have been shown to believe that milk is good for us when cow's milk is really for baby cows and does harm to the human body. Our effort to make a difference with helping people to improve their health is the Radiant Roots Optimal Health Bundle. Now, Kathleen, why don't we just each of us kind of chime in on some of the statistics that we know out
would
there?
love to. And before we go into that, I want to take a step back on something you said about the what we've been led to believe. And today is 4th of July in the United States. It's a big holiday. It's a holiday where people are doing barbecues, people are eating hot dogs, they're having hot dog contests. And every morning, what I like to do is turn on the news so that I can see what the weather report is, even though I know what the weather is going to be. I still like to hear it. And it was interesting this morning how many segments were on food segments and food segments around hot dog eating contests. And it has been proven those are deadly. They are literally deadly. Or they were talking about chicken wings, and that has become normalized. And what we are doing with the bundle is we are normalizing healthy eating, and especially, like you said, for underserved communities. So with the statistics on obesity, I need to put my glasses on for this one, but I do know that 40% of adults and 18.5% of children in the United States are classified not just as overweight, as obese. Now, that's a huge conversation. And in that, you look at the percentage of people that are overweight. Any visit to a grocery store, and you will see how many people are living incredibly unhealthy lives. And so, with the bundle, the whole idea with this is providing resources so that people can learn what the truth is. We were talking to a woman the other day who is near being plant-based. She said, I'm almost there. The only thing I'm not giving up yet is cheese. And what many people don't realize is how deadly cheese actually is. That comes from the baby cow being taken away from the mom, the milk being turned into cheese. And that is the worst thing that we can put, one of the worst things we can put into our body that leads into the unhealthy population. So with that, I'll turn it over to Meryl.
Well, you know, one of the things I find most fascinating, you're saying that you like to look at the weather in the morning and, you know, you get the reports and it does take you across the country, right? Gives you the bird's eye view, so to speak, of what's happening nationally. Our food is a serious problem. And I agree to look at what gets broadcast as great eating or fun things to do on the holidays or this restaurant or this new thing most often is not food that is health promoting. it is disease promoting.
Mhm.
So let's take a look at the dairy and the obesity and what that leads into. Because it's really easy to say that cheese is deadly or hot dogs are deadly, but you know, let's look a little bit deeper at that, right? Since we're here, we're talking about healthy and health promoting foods today. So back in 2015, all processed meats were declared carcinogenic,
Mhm.
all
Mhm.
on the level of asbestos or on the
Mhm.
level of
Class
cigarette smoke,
1.
class one
Mhm.
carcinogens. So let's just think for a minute. Would you take your family, your newborn baby, or your 5-year old, your toddler, your grandmother, and bounce them around, tell them to jump up and down and have a great time in a room full of asbestos?
Hmm.
No,
Hmm.
you probably wouldn't.
Hmm.
Would you give
Mhm.
your 3-year-old a cigar or a cigarette to smoke? Not in this country anyway,
Right.
right? We
Right.
wouldn't do that, right? So
Right.
it is that type of thought process that I think is helpful when we start looking at food, right? Because food, as you've heard, I'm sure food is medicine. It is also either health promoting or disease promoting. It can also be a poison. It's a very slow poison if you use or eat the wrong foods. Unfortunately, in our country, we have been sold a bill of goods that says convenience is what's most important, and the flavor of something has to be just so for it to be acceptable. And a lot of that stuff means that it's filled with chemicals, it's filled with dyes, petroleum byproducts, artificial weird fillers, flavors, colors, and all kinds of other stuff that the human body, they're made in a lab.
The human body
So,
was not made to receive, nor
no,
their
these are
words that people can't even pronounce.
right. These are not real foods. These are artificially created, very
Right.
low budget, comes in a test tube type stuff that we are
Mira,
sold
can
at
I?
very low budget. Hold on one second.
Okay, because I want to add something about how I
We're
used to see all
sold at
that.
a
So,
very low
yeah,
price, and we are encouraged. Hold on one second. Hold
I
on.
will.
They're sold at a very low price, and people are encouraged to eat these things, and these things cause disease. Period. That is something that, and I'll just add this one other thing, Kathleen, and then I'll hand it over to you. This pattern of eating, very low cost, I understand, but low quality, low nutrient, high calorie food. We begin that before the child is born. And certainly by the time they're starting to eat solid foods, we are
Right.
introducing this stuff to them. So that by the time a child gets to be 5, 10, 15, 18, their idea of what food is very narrow most often. And it is trained toward these ultra processed, high animal centric diets. And it just leads into disease as the child grows into an adult.
It's interesting with the ultra processed foods, which are also known as UPFs. Our grocery store, about 80% of the foods in there, so-called foods, are ultra processed. And I have to say, I look at how I used to view this kind of information. I remember reading articles on the red dye and the yellow dye and the blue and whatever dyes they were using, and I thought, oh, they're making a big deal about it. How can that really hurt us? And such a small amount. And what I didn't realize was how prevalent it was in all the foods that we eat. The additional chemicals, the toxins, just the processing that goes on. And so I was one of those people that thought people like us right now were making too big of a deal about it. But then when you look at what's happened to our health, it's on the decline more and more every day, and obesity is on the rise, and overweightness and all of that. So, I have to admit that there was a period in my life that I thought people like us right now were kind of overdoing it. They were making a big deal, much to do about nothing. Well, it is too little to do about a lot. I mean, because when you look at the increase in cancer, the increase in heart disease, diabetes, type 2 diabetes, we want to separate between type 1 and type 2. But the fact that children now are getting the onset of adult diseases, when years ago, a doctor never, ever would have heard of a child having type 2 diabetes or having high blood pressure or having heart disease that wasn't genetic, that it was based on food. So I think that it's important for me to say, I was so misguided. I was so wrong in the way that I viewed the reports that came out. And now we're at a point where it's so urgent to make these changes.
Mhm.
And
Totally.
that's an excellent point, Kathleen, because we have all been misguided as it relates to this area, our food
Mhm.
being disconnected from causal effects with our health. And there's a reason for that. And the reason is that this is a multi-trillion dollar industry that has grown to the point where it's like, let's keep the veil over people's eyes. Let's keep the disconnect so that people don't realize that if they change from eating what is making these big dollar corporations their money, then, everything that is being done to open people's eyes, to bring about awareness, is being shut down. Now, the thing that is happening that we're a part of is a large movement. And that movement is much to what Meryl talked about. Science has proven that there are foods that are either poison to your body or they're actually medicine to your body. And this goes back hundreds of years. Hippocrates came out basing his whole theory around how to treat people's health with doing it naturally. Why did we get away from that? Well, science was a part of it. But the other thing was that there were people who figured that they could capitalize on
Bingo.
what the science was doing for us. And they created the marketing ploys that really allowed them to fill their coffers while they were actually, and early on, the results weren't quite there, but it didn't take long for the tests to reveal, for the people to show up and say, this is something that's wrong with me. But nobody ever looked at root causes. Why is there something? What are you eating?
Right.
Was the question that was missing. And today we're asking more of those questions. And we've been fortunate enough to have had some amazing medical professionals, health nutritionists, just fitness people to step up and say, we're a part of this. We know that there are foods that can help to turn health around. And with the science having proven that, I'll go back to one point that I think, Meryl, you kind of brought in. Maybe it was you, Kathleen, we were talking about our children. Our children are a big, big deal, especially, and not to discount our male children, but girl children come into this world with 2 generations embodied within their womb. When they themselves end up in this cycle of disease, what's happening to those 2 generations within their wombs? You got to ask that question. And then the answer is, if it's food related, wouldn't you want to do something about it? And we're here to tell you today that because we know that a lot of what especially people of color suffer from is because of the food.
Right.
Let's change that. Let's bring about the education, and that education leading to the sources and resources that can help people to change that. And so that's why we're here today. That's why the Ultimate Bundle was created, because it goes back to the roots, goes back to what was natural and we were eating generations ago. People lived longer. People had less in the way of ailments, the kind of ailments that we have today. And the ailments that did show up then, we could readily identify to, they were eating too much pork. They were eating, cut out the pork. You can cut out a lot of things that your body was telling you was wrong. Cut out your seafood and you could stop gout.
Right.
Wait. Just a question. So, I'm sorry, I got caught on the gout part.
Okay.
So just because I got all this crazy health information in my head. Okay, so gout is actually not only seafood,
right?
It's all meat products.
Yeah.
So when a person shows up with gout, one of the first things that a good doctor, a good practitioner would say, stop eating meat.
Right.
All kinds, all animal flesh, right? For sure. If they stop eating seafood alone, it might not have the impact.
Correct.
That's the point.
I have to share. I have a sister, and my oldest sister, who she actually is obese. And years ago, she had gout. She had high blood pressure. She still has it, I'm sure. But her doctor said, you need to stop eating red meat. Her response, I would rather die than give up meat. And, it's so interesting because she was in such pain and she chose to continue being in the pain than give up the short-term pleasure of food that was causing so many problems, so, and, you talked, Belin, about the solution and doctors giving better information. Why don't you show people what's in the bundle? And if you could put the link to the bundle so people who want to get it, they can actually go over and get it. We've gathered up dozens of items that are all specific to plant-based eating and food as medicine from medical professionals, other than just a handful of us who contributed our own personal experience about what we've done to turn our health around. So in the bundle, if you want to go through that, Belin, because I don't want people to miss the opportunity to get the bundle, because I know there are people that are watching right now that definitely want to get it.
So absolutely. We've had some amazing doctors to actually put information like pregnancy wellness, benefits of yoga, the key to total wellness, the ultimate lentil handbook. And if you know anything about the value of lentils, and I know that Meryl, you can speak to this in depth, but lentils are one of the best foods for your diet. And I think we have all heard, especially people of color, beans, good for your heart, beans. They may make you fart, but you know what?
Our song went different. Ours was beans, the musical tune. Food, the more you eat, the more you toot.
We had both versions in my neighborhood.
We just took a turn to the left.
that made the difference. It's like, okay, I'll go for the farting because I know that this is going to make me feel good. And beans really did. Why aren't people eating more beans today? Because over the generations, we've gone to fast food that don't include the beans. You go to a Chinese restaurant, and if you don't get the beans and rice, you don't even get a little bit of beans. And, it's in our African-American culture, you may have beans on New Year's Day, right? Black-eyed peas. And then you have no other beans for the rest of the year, unless you like green beans or, what's the other one I'm trying to think of?
Red beans.
Okay, so Louisiana, red beans and rice. But why it's got to be this central area culturally, and the whole red beans and rice. Yeah, what about red and brown and pinto and black beans and rice?
Yeah.
And having that kind of a food as a staple in your diet to eat daily, or at least every other day. with the kind of health benefits that beans provide. And that's something, lentils, it's something that is written out in this ebook. You got to get that one.
One of the things I like about this bundle too is it focuses on, I think there's something in almost every area of lifestyle medicine.
Right.
So all of the docs and the people who have contributed to this bundle are people who are very well steeped, very well educated in lifestyle medicine. And lifestyle medicine has 6 pillars that it sort of is grounded on, right?
Yes.
So there's food, most definitely. A plant forward, plant powered, as much plants as you can get in your diet kind of diet is what they recommend. There is something about, getting enough movement in a day. So I saw Danielle Medina's book about yoga. There's
so Meryl, she's actually got a cooking demonstration in here too, where she and her daughter have done this cooking demonstration together, and her daughter participates in the yoga that they do as well.
Very nice. Yeah. So we've got the food, we've got movement. There's something about stress management. That's another one of the pillars of lifestyle medicine. Sleep. Now, is there something in here about sleep?
Yes, there is.
Right here.
There's a book on sleep.
Because even sleep, it's free. Right? That's one thing you don't have to pay for. You just, but our society is very much sleep deprived, and our children very much are sleep deprived. We don't get enough at good, restful, restorative sleep.
Right.
So there's information here on sleep. There may also be something in here in these books about avoiding toxic relationships is another one. Building positive relationships. And avoiding toxic substances. That's another one. Really important.
Actually, in several of the resources, the doctors talk about avoiding substances like alcohol and certain drugs, many drugs, because all of that is toxic to our system. And it's, again, looking at the short-term changes that need to be made for long-term benefit. And when I look at how good I feel since going plant-based, and when I'm really on the straight and narrow around eating healthy plant-based eating, that's different than somebody who says I'm on the vegan diet and they're eating a lot of junk food. It's about whole food, fresh, live, vibrant food that fills our body with energy. And it's just amazing what you can do when you feel good. Because I know in the past when I was on borderline obesity, and I just didn't feel like getting off the couch. And the more I did that, the more depressed I became, the more it became a pattern in my life. And today on the 4th of July, I'm going to be working in my garden for probably 5-6 hours. And I love doing that. That's a pleasure to me. And so I don't have to sit and look out the window and go, oh, I wish I could. I wish I would have changed the way I was eating. So what I love about this bundle is there's something for everybody. There's a book on pregnancy. If you're planning on getting pregnant or you are pregnant, this book is a must-have because it is so filled with great information that will really help you to understand the healthiest way to eat for you and your baby.
Yeah, so true. We can go back to what V. Lynn mentioned earlier about the female body carrying the next 2 generations worth of eggs is what you're talking about, right? Yeah. So when the female body is created in the ovaries already, have to get my anatomy straight again, in the ovaries already are the eggs for the next generation, right? The eggs are already there, and that's all the eggs the woman gets in her whole life, right? And those eggs for the next generation are already there. And if you think about it, then the eggs for the next generation are already there also, because that's just the logic of it, right? So it's 2 generations. If we are eating poorly, and likewise, if we are drinking a lot of alcohol or taking in toxic substances, addictive substances, if we are stressed out, if we are in poor relationships with people, it affects the way our genes, how they express themselves. I'm trying to find like a not overly complicated, too crazy scientific way, because that'll lose me as well as anybody else. But we, just to know that our daily life and what we take in our mouths and in our minds and in our hearts and in our spirits literally affects the way our genes express. So that is what this bundle is about. It's, there's that, it's almost a cliche now, that the Native Americans look at any decision they make based on how it will affect the next 7 generations.
Wow.
And that's what we're talking about here.
Mhm.
How is what we do and what we think and what we eat and where we are and what we breathe and all, how does that affect the next 7 generations? At this
Mhm.
point right now, the way Kathleen said, our trend for overweight and obesity is going up like
Right,
this. Our
right.
trend for diabetes in children up like this. Our trend for autism up like this. Trend for heart disease, cancers, all of that up. Almost at at least a 30-degree to 45-degree angle.
Right, right. And what's interesting is a lot of it is caused by inflammation, and inflammation is caused by the foods we eat. I mean, it's like if people would connect the dots, and a lot of times they don't know to connect the dots because they're given the wrong location of the dot, if you will. But I was thinking about the whole thing of really taking in the foods that support our health. And part of that is foods that will allow us to calm our minds so that we can actually sleep, or calm our minds so we can meditate. This morning, I did a great meditation on gratitude and focus. And I know that in the past, depending on what I ate, my mind was just going a mile a minute, and I couldn't calm down long enough to really take in the energy of what I was trying to do to get that calming centering. And so it really is about what is the quality of life that people want. And we have been given a bill of goods. We've been lied to,
Oh,
we've
the
been
bill of goods.
manipulated. And the underserved communities, definitely, the people of color, the LGBTQ, all the communities that are kind of they're not given the right information. So this is what the bundle is about, so you can have the information that truly will make a difference in your quality of life. And years ago, I actually was married to a Hispanic man, and I had endometriosis. This was well over 50 years ago. It was like right around 50 years ago. I was one of the first cases that they actually called it endometriosis. And the doctor who discovered that I had it, he did a laparoscopy. He had just gone to a conference, and they said there's this new disease, or it's been around for a while, and they named it. And my mother-in-law, who cooked with a lot of lard, she cooked beans, but she cooked with a lot of lard, and she cooked with a lot of cheese. She said, "Do you think it's all the cheese you're eating?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's ridiculous. It's not the cheese." Well, Dr. Nikki Davis did I think it was Nikki Davis did a presentation, and she talked about how cheese causes inflammation that causes endometriosis. And I'm like, I'm a little bit late on some of this information, but thank goodness I have it now so that I can share it with other people through programs like the Radiant Roots Optimal Health Bundle.
Nice, yes. And I think that, it's really interesting too, because like you said, back then we didn't know what we didn't know. Today, the same thing occurs. People don't know what they don't know. And even with the bundle information coming about, there are people that don't know that eating steak and hot dogs and chicken and bacon and what else. Well, let's help them to understand what some of these foods are that
Right.
are the cause of inflammation and obesity, because they wake up one day and it's like, oh, I'm here, I have this, but they're not thinking, well, what am I doing that created this? And they go to the doctor, and the doctor says, you've got this, and here's what we can do as far as medication. 95% of doctors practicing medicine in the United States right now are not going to tell a person or ask a person, what is it that you're eating, so that we can help figure out what the real cause is of your ailment right now. And so let's, the three of us, just take a minute and list some of those foods that we know are some of the causes that we're talking about. And we talked steak and hot dogs. And when I learned how they made hot dogs, I was done. When I learned that they used every bit of the scrap of the pig to grind up to put inside a casing that they could then call a hot dog, I was done. I do not want toenails. I do not want feet and, other pieces and parts like that I'm calling a hot dog.
Right.
And, when I first learned that, I was like, so kosher dogs, maybe they're better, right? Kosher dogs go through the same process. They might just leave out the feet and the toes, but it's the same stuff. It's the, pieces of the pig that they don't use to create kosher pork. And I'm like, well, that defeats the whole purpose of being kosher, right? So
well, the kosher has to do, if somebody, anybody, correct me if I'm wrong, but
and
the
me
kosher
too.
part has to do with how the animal is killed.
Yes,
it doesn't have to do with necessarily how it's processed.
Okay. See, so
the animal cannot feel any pain when it's killed.
Right.
That's one of the reasons. And I'm not Jewish. I don't study kosher law by any means, but that is what I understand. I just had a conversation with a rabbi a couple weeks ago, and we talked about that. That's exactly.
Oh my goodness. See, and that's what I'm talking about. People just don't know. Let's talk a little bit more about, okay, so let's take chicken. More people, chicken is a better thing to eat than red meat. I gave up red meat years ago, but I eat chicken and I eat fish. Let's talk about chicken.
That's a fallacy. And I know you were leading into that, V-Lynn, but the fallacy that chicken is better than red meat. When you look at how chicken is processed, I mean, a lot of this has to do with people educating themselves on what's behind the closed door and the factory farm doors. When you look at, we have chickens that are rescue chickens, and these kids are so spoiled. They get the best food. They're just crazy spoiled. But I look at them every day and I think about the poor chickens in factory farms that are grown so quickly with steroids and drugs that are made to get them to grow fast. A chicken, I think it was in 1957, 58, after 6 months was like 2.5 pounds or something. I don't have the exact numbers, but now in 6 weeks, a chicken is about 8 pounds. Now that's crazy because they're obese, their legs can't support them. So they go through a lot of pain and suffering. So you're taking in the pain and suffering when you put that into your body. Chicken is as unhealthy, if not more unhealthy than fish, red meat. They're all unhealthy, but it's just so crazy when you know the truth and you want people to know the truth, and people are like, oh, that can't possibly be true. That's conspiracy theory. It's like, no, that is science. That is fact.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then there are those who think, okay, so if I stop eating all of this type of food, then KFC's going out of business, and Louisiana Popeyes is going out of business, and Church's Chicken, which is huge here, and In-N-Out Burger is going out of. They're all going to go out of business. Yeah, if they are contributing to the genocide of the human race,
Bingo.
How about we let them go?
Bingo.
How about
you just hit the nail on the head, for sure. It is a genocide, and again, that might sound like conspiracy theory, but look around, go to the grocery store. I always invite people to just kind of take a look around, take the blinders off and look at what's going on. And one of my favorite things to do is go to the park and hike. And what I love about doing that is I get to take my dogs with me, but I get to see people out doing something really productive for their health. Where when you go to the grocery store or you go to the movie theater or you go to a lot of locations now that really people congregate, that they give you a bird's eye view of our population, and it's not pretty. And I'm not saying that as a judgment call. I'm saying that as a fact. People are dying sooner than they ever have before, or they're dying longer. They're being kept alive through medication.
Suffering longer.
Yeah, there you go.
We start, like I said earlier, we start training our children very, very early into this way of eating. So just for interesting contrast, yesterday I was working with a group of 14 to 18-year-olds at a local farm. It's like a summer camp for kids,
Mhm.
but they're farming. They're out there pulling weeds and planting kale, really interesting. Were all, not like deep inner city, not like they came out of the middle of Chicago or, some part of New York. So um, a less robust city, inner city kids, right? I asked them as a way of an icebreaker, okay, tell me your name and tell me what's your favorite vegetable. Almost every one of them said carrots. There was a couple kids who said celery, and then one girl who said onions. The rest, there was no other vegetable available to them that they could think of or that they thought
Mhm.
was good. One young lady said, "No, I don't like any vegetables. I can't think of a single vegetable that I like. I just don't like vegetables." She went on quite a little while. She was very talkative, but it's just so interesting, that we in countries or families where the children are given vegetables early and often, dare I say, right? The kids have that flavor. They understand, this is food and I feel good after I eat this. It's okay. In cases where we're giving our kids nothing but calorie rich and processed crap,
Biscuits
it's
and
horrible. It's horrible.
cereal and
Takis and cookies and muffins and Pop Tarts and just insane the things that we're doing with our children and training them to eat this way so that by by the time they're 45 or 50 and they're having their first heart attack
Mhm.
Mhm.
is a horrible, very difficult reeling back in that a person has to do to just
Mhm.
re-sensitize themselves to healthy food and make sure that it's okay. And oh my gosh, how do I cook it? Oh my gosh, I don't have time to cook it. I don't even know what that's called in the grocery store. Where do I find it? You know, we've done this
Mhm.
funny thing where we have sold convenience as a commodity,
Right.
right?
Well, and something I'd like to add to the conversation in the bundle, the Radiant Roots Ultimate Health Bundle, there are ebooks that address this, and there are videos that address this. But there's the whole issue of fertility. That more women are having fertility issues than ever before. More men have a low semen count, and people might say, well, what does that have to do with food? It has everything to do with food.
Mhm.
Look at the patterns of what's going on in society, and it makes you wonder, why do we have such an issue with fertility today compared to 20 years ago? And it's going at a faster pace than ever before. Why are children being born with so many health issues that they didn't have in the past? It was a rarity in the past. And so the whole idea behind the bundle and these amazing doctors that contributed to the bundle, I mean, the quality of information is unbelievable. And well, it's believable because we brought it together. And the thing that we really looked at is we wanted to make it affordable to everybody. So for $27, you get the whole bundle, and the bundle has thousands of dollars worth of information. And these doctors, we said, we are putting this bundle together. We'd like you to contribute something to the bundle. And we've got the comprehensive guide to nurturing yourself and your body. You're going too fast. I don't have my glasses on. I was going to read it. It's like
Got
ego aside.
Scroll
Let
back
me,
to the top, V-Lynn. Let's see what it says across
yeah.
the top.
Okay, to the Whole Foods ebook, fact sheet, and toolkit. Fit and Play Mama's Radiant Roots Bundle Package. The Key to Total Wellness by Dr. Judy Brengman. We've got Embracing a Healthy Plant-Based Lifestyle video and ebook by Dr. Shonda Mayo Ford. The Ultimate Lentil Handbook. I can't wait to dig into the lentil handbook because I like lentils, but I didn't realize they were such a power food. And now I know, so I'm going to be even more energized than I am now. Oh, you two are in trouble. Okay, then we've got The Natural Way, a mind, body, and spirit approach to weight loss. And this is the thing. If you're trying diet after diet after diet after diet and nothing's working, you lose the weight, you gain it back, you lose the weight, gain it back. A whole food, plant-based, now whole food, not the ultra processed type vegan foods, but a whole food, close to nature diet will absolutely put you at the weight that you are meant to be at. And you'll never even look at a scale again. Let's see.
The last diet you will ever be on is a
Mhm.
whole food, plant-based, 100% vegan diet. You
Bingo,
won't
bingo,
need
bingo.
another one.
Ding, 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 ding. Okay, so let's see what else we have here. Then we have my health journey video, lifestyle roadmap to improve sleep habits. Fabulous book. Fabulous.
Sleep habits that accelerate your weight loss. How many people knew that when you get 6 to 9 hours of sleep, and it's actually 7 to 9, that you actually give your body a chance to recover and your metabolism a chance to normalize so that it works properly and your
Absolutely.
weight actually drops.
And a lot of people don't know that they have terrible sleep habits and they can't seem to lose the weight. And women, especially around the midriff, there's that poochie pooch. That's the new term, the poochie pooch around the midriff. But we've got some contributions by Dr. Shayla, and she has the Rooted in Wellness book, and she's also got Nature's Harvest, fueling your outdoor
I want to back
adventures.
up for just a second to
Certainly.
Dr. Shayla's Rooted in Wellness, a plant-powered journey to insulin harmony. Now, this is really something that those who actually have type 1 and type 2 or type 2 diabetes actually want to get into, because she goes through some information that is invaluable to the person who's trying to figure out what foods to eat to help better regulate insulin. And I was astounded to look at the information that she's put in here. She's got recipes. She's got everything that anyone who is focused on the fact that they need to regulate their insulin. How about having to take less? How about getting to a point where your body recognizes the food that you're eating is giving you some of the things that you need to balance that out? And that's an excellent resource for that. So I want people to know that's in here. Her Nature's Harvest, fueling your outdoor adventures, the plant-based way. I mean, how many of us as youth used to like to go outside and stroll around and play around and ride your bike? But as we got older, it was like, no, I'm into the video games. Or unfortunately, you were into the video games and all you did when you were outside was ride your bike to the neighbors so that you could dump it in the front yard and run in the house and get on the console. But even looking at that, being outdoors is part of the medicine that we've been provided in this natural environment. And she goes into some of the things that you can do outdoors, hiking among them, and some of the foods that you want to use to fuel your body to help you as you're doing outdoor activities.
Wonderful. And you know what I found interesting about a lot of these doctors is they didn't come out of medical school saying, oh, this is what I want to do. They actually had health issues. Several of these doctors actually turned their health around by discovering plant-based eating and whole food plant-based eating. And they were like, oh, I wasn't taught this in medical school. And they went on their own personal journey and they discovered the power of food. And so their prompting was due to their own health. Not all the doctors, but several of them. And so they turned their health around and they shared what they discovered. And now that is their life's mission. So I think that's important to remember. And also the whole thing around type 2 diabetes, the number one cause, I believe, of amputation of feet and legs is due to type 2 diabetes, which is a direct result of what people eat. The number one cause of blindness has to do with what you eat. And that might seem very far-fetched, but it's not. This is the truth. This is what they've been keeping from you. And we have this for you in the bundle.
You know, I want to say something too, just because, so I'm a registered nurse. I spent my time in medical settings and going to school to learn it. I don't think there are very many doctors who intentionally keep information from you, right? You only go into it and spend that amount of time and money and effort and blood, sweat, and tears and everything else to get through schooling. We only do that because we really want to make a difference for people. That's
Mhm.
99.99% of doctors, right?
Right.
And nurses,
Right.
healthcare professionals in general. What, and maybe people who are watching this already know this, but what happens in the course of medical education, nursing education, physical therapy education, all those registered dietitian education, is we do not get taught. That is not a body of information that we get about how to prevent disease or how to reverse it. What we're taught is how to manage illness and maybe get somebody to the best level post illness, but it doesn't, we don't have those conversations about how to reverse illness. So this information that's available in this bundle, and for if you wanted to dig even deeper, you could go to any one of the people who provided information in this bundle. You could, do a lot of research online, although you can get into some dark and murky places. If you're looking online for information, you have to know what you're looking for. But the point of this bundle is to give you access to information that's not readily available. And your doctor may not have even learned it in school. So it's not that they're necessarily withholding information.
Right.
It's that
Right.
they don't have it to give. They don't have this information. This is information
Great
that
point.
comes about because people are researching and looking and trying to find really optimal ways to help their patients.
And
That's what it is.
that's a very good point,
Right. Right.
because I personally know a lot of doctors who are in this space now where they have embarked on and done their own research and education to learn this plant-based space and the fact that food is medicine and what foods and all of that. Even to being a part of the American College of Lifestyle Medicine, where some of this is available to them in the way of educational programs in the Plantrition Project and Physicians Committee for Responsible Medicine. But I say that to say that medical schools, most medical schools today are receiving funding, endowment, or otherwise from places that promote disease management, like Meryl was talking about, versus disease prevention and reversal.
Right.
And the institutions that actually have come up and recognize that more needs to be done in this regard, they're still limited to the number of hours that students get in this space. I only know of one university that actually has now a nutrition program for as a mandated requirement for medical students.
Hmm.
And if you think about the number of institutions in our country that are educating new doctors, that is, in my estimation, egregious.
Right.
Why would these medical institutions not want to go to the initial mandate of do no harm when, it's been proven, science has proven that the medications that people take, and it's the whole thing of look at the list of benefits, it's this long, the list of side effects is this long, and the list of potential negative reactions is this long, including death. So you're taking these synthesized medications that your doctor has said this is going to help, and you just automatically believe them. But what else are you doing? Are you really taking responsibility for your own life and well-being? Well, we've brought you doctors who are saying they're here to help, but you still have to do the work. Nobody's going to buy this bundle for you. It's only $27. Nobody's going to download the information and make it available to you. It's only $27. You got to buy it. You got to get in it. You got to download those pieces, and then you got to look at them. You got to get inside these ebooks. You got to watch these videos to get the information. So what we want you to do is think about the bundle as being a resource for you, buying the bundle, and then taking action with the bundle information. Then you get the information, act on the information. If you need to know more about how potatoes can help you, um, reach out to the person who's giving you that information. If you want more around how you can feed your kids yummy, kid approved,
Mhm.
easy peasy pantry stuff and recipes, reach out to the contributors. That's one of the things that they said that they wanted to be as well, and that is
Right.
available to you. And
And
so,
let's look at all the one more time. Let's go ahead and look at all the resources in the bundle because you got about halfway through. Let's see what else is in there. There's some pretty cool resources.
well, let me see where I can bring it back up. There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
There we go. Okay. All right. So we've got the Yummy Kid approved recipes and easy peasy pantry guide. That's by Meryl. Imagine that. And then we've got the 12 healthy food tips and 10 yummy snack suggestions for your family. I was reading through that. That's awesome, awesome resource. And you can print it out and actually put it up on your refrigerator so the whole family can get involved. Lifestyle strategies for strengthening your family's health, again by Meryl. And that's another one you can print out and you can put it up on your refrigerator. Love this next book, Tips for Successful Gardening by Dr. Latea. This is a fabulous resource that talks about how to get your garden ready for planting and not flower planting. This is for actual vegetable planting and what you can plant next to each other so that they actually thrive. That I was actually surprised when I read through that information how much I learned. It's a fabulous resource.
And it's
And then,
a great introduction, if I may. It's a great introduction to the other pieces. We're talking about gardening for vegetables, but this is also a great prep for herbs.
yes, yes.
You know, if we think about generations ago, you might have had somebody in the neighborhood who grew their own vegetables and herbs and spices. This book is a great introduction to how you might be able to do that, whether you've got a concrete backyard or backyard with grass. There are ways to do that. And I love this book. Yes.
And then Dr. Latea also has a wonderful video on nutrition label reading. This is an eye opener because many people don't know how to read labels and they might look at the, let's say, okay, 50 calories per serving. And then you look at how many servings are in a container, 25 servings to this container. And somebody just ate the whole darn thing. And quite seriously, it is very misleading with labels. And so she really gets through the other side of how do you read labels correctly. And then Gigi and Cersei, they're very about the Daniel fast, which is based on biblical principles. It's a wonderful resource for learning how truly the whole premise of Christian eating is. It's about really honoring the temple. And Daniel fast is a great, great book. Go ahead.
And I go back to this is, I think they are the first that I heard this from. What is the only diet that you do once and you never repeat? And it is the Daniel fast, the whole food plant-based diet that once you do, you never stop doing.
Right.
You do it once and always. Whereas how many of us have been in this yo-yo cycle of diet after diet after different diet after different diet? This is the one that not only will you lose the weight, you will have, I mean, just the energy and the vibrancy that you thought you left back in college or high school or as a kid. This is the diet, and all of what each of these contributors is getting to is these are the foods and this is the lifestyle that when you adopt it, you will never have to worry about changing it because this is the road to longevity.
Right.
And you want a long life that is a healthy life. You want to be like Cicely Tyson and, 99 years old, go to bed one night, everybody thinking she's going to be there the next day. And she just slept.
She's done. She said,
You know, you
okay.
just kept
Peace out.
sleeping. And no pain. And she subscribed to this way of living.
Interesting.
There's so many of us. I grew up in the Dick Gregory time, and I wonder why not more people did not listen to what Dick Gregory was trying to relay. And a lot of it is the how. How are you relaying it, and how are people receiving it? And he had his way. And there were a lot of people that changed their diets and lifestyles because of the information that Dick Gregory shared. But that was a different time too. He didn't have the internet like
Right.
we have now. He didn't have the way of mass communication that we now have available to us as individuals or small groups. And with bringing about something like the bundle, we want you out there in bundle land to find this for yourself, but we also want you to share it with others. And so all of that came out of the Daniel fast. I think I got a divine download that brought that about.
All right. All right. And then we have on the next row,
What else do we have?
we have the Plant-Based Eating 7-Day Reboot. That's my own book that I wrote based on my personal experience, that when I first went plant-based, I did it for inflammation, and I was going to do it for 7 days because I read all these amazing stories about people that turn their health around. I thought, yeah, whatever. And I mean, because I had given up on diets, I was at one of my heaviest weights ever at that point. And I thought, I'm going to give it 7 days. And if my inflammation doesn't go away, because I started for inflammation, in 2 days, the inflammation was gone. In 7 days, I released 5 pounds. And I thought, let me try it a little bit longer. So I committed to another week, and 1 week led into another. That was 6 years ago. But game changer in my health and my vitality and my energy and my inflammation. I do not deal with inflammation anymore. So I've got in there my own personal journey, and then it's an actual 7-day reboot that in 7 days, you absolutely will feel a change when you subscribe to a whole food plant-based diet. And then my favorite thing in my kitchen, I have so many devices I love using. I've got an air fryer, I've got choppers, I've got a tofu press, but my very, very, very favorite, I just had a meal last night, a crock pot meal. And I've got 5 great recipes for anybody who wants to have the ease of using a crock pot. And you set it up in the morning, you plug it, you put it on whatever temperature you need to, the low or the high, and you set and go. And then at dinner time, you've got a great dinner ready. And then V-Lynn, you've got your top 15 alkaline foods ebook. You want to share a little bit about that?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank you. When I first started my journey, I thought, okay, I do want easy. I do want fast. I do want delicious. And somebody mentioned to me about alkaline foods. And I think because I was referring to the fact that I felt kind of sluggish. I didn't feel like I was moving as easily as I had been. And I drink a sufficient amount of water. But somebody said, well, what's your internal pH balance? And I was like, what? And
It's none of your business. It's kind of personal. No.
It started me on a journey to find out what that was all about. And a friend of mine recommended this guy in the UK, Ross Bridgeford, who talks about alkaline diets. And I thought, well, what's an alkaline diet? I studied with him for a little bit, found out what he was doing. And then I did the deep dive. I was like, what are some of these alkaline foods? Why are they good for me? What can I get from them? And there's about 30 that I found, but I picked the top 15. And they are fruits, they are vegetables, and from carrots and celery to apples and oranges and for me, this was great because I'll grab an apple and cut it up and chomp on it for a while. or a stick of celery or a carrot. But there are so many great alkaline foods in this ebook. If you're looking for a place to start, especially if you're a snacker, go there.
There it is. So with that, we've been going nearly an hour. This has been delightful, ladies, and my garden is calling to me. I got to go out and dig in the dirt, and I just want to say thank you so much. I encourage people, check out the bundle. Meryl, thank you for all you do. V-Lynn, thank you for all you do. And I'll do this one. Yeah. Kathleen, thank you for all you do. But seriously, we love what we do. We're on a mission. We are here to help people become healthy because we want people to have vibrant lives. We want you to be around for as long as you want to be around. And while you're around, why not have that vitality, that energy, that focus, that clarity of mind, and not be sitting on the couch going, I wish I would have, I wish I could have. You can. And we're providing those resources to you. So with that, I'm going to say thank you all very much. And V-Lynn and Meryl, what are your closing thoughts?
Well, I'm going to say thank you, Meryl. Thank you, Kathleen, for being a part of this promotional launch. The bundle is available. Again, it's $27. Get it, enjoy it. But getting it is one thing, enjoying it is another, and that's a process. Get into it. You'll be glad you did, honestly. Absolutely. And Absolutely. share the fact that others that you know in your family, your friends can get this as well. This is something that we really believe can make a difference in people of color communities if we share it. Share it within your church. Share it within your community groups, your neighborhood groups. Do that for yourself and do that for your friends and family. Thank you. Meryl?
I would add to that, do that for your children. Start them young. You don't have to wait till you had your first heart attack or till you get your first diabetes scare. You don't wait. Just start young, start the children early. The other thing I would say is the bundle is only available for like 10 days, right?
Yes,
that's right.
You're correct.
So once it's gone, it's gone. So you see the link at the bottom for where you can get the bundle. Yeah, you have 10 days. That's it.
10 days.
Let it slip. Don't let
I'm
it slip.
glad you brought that up because it is a 10-day program that a launch that we're doing. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Sunday, July 14th will be the last day that the bundle will be available. And this is Health Independence Day. Start today. If you're going to meet with family and friends to do this whole cookout thing, talk about just being curious about it and see if others might be curious as well.
All right. Thank you all very much.
All
Have
right.
a great day.
You
Happy
too. Happy 4th of July.